This is one-on-one session with the Forum IAS founder and director Ayush Sinha. In this session, students are asked questions to test their preparedness for the personality test. One-on-one sessions are not mock panel sessions.
So let us have a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
So Bhavishya, can you briefly introduce yourself to me?
Yes, sir. So my name is Bhavishya. I hail from Ajmer, Rajasthan. I did my undergraduation from IIT Kanpur in computer science and engineering in 2020. My first preference is Indian Foreign Service, and my hobbies include first, amateur USA and China watching, second, forecasting global events, and political philosophy with special focus on post-liberalism.
I got you till that your first preference is Indian Foreign Service. What did you say after that?
And my hobbies include first, amateur USA and China watching, second, forecasting global events, third, political philosophy with special focus on post-liberalism.
All right. So Bhavishya, what does your name mean?
The Bhavishya means future.
So does your hobby have to do with your name?
That's a coincidence.
Okay, so you are into forecasting global events. Can you tell me what is the chances or likelihood of a third world war happening?
Since uh, over the 75 year period after the World War II, since we have avoided World War III, so the probability assigned to World War III in any year is less than 5%. But in recent times, due to the Ukraine-Russia conflict and the increasing nuclear brinksmanship, the that risk has increased, and the risk of World War III has increased. But still, it remains in lower single digits.
It is still 5% or it has risen more than 5%?
So, I would say it's less than 10%, but somewhere between 5 to 10%. So the global risk index assigns in any year less than 5% probability to a nuclear war, but due to current situation, it doesn't.
What is the doomsday clock?
Yes, sir. So doomsday clock is a metaphor that calculates the distance from a nuclear holocaust, a nuclear world, a nuclear Armageddon. So it at any moment, the distance from 12 o'clock on the doomsday clock indicates how close we are to a nuclear Armageddon or Holocaust.
Bhavishya, are the food prices in India, are they regulated or are they unregulated? We continuously are told that it is unregulated, but still on and off we feel that there is an increase in price and we are not feeling the burn. Sometimes the prices go down and we do not get the benefits. So what is the position?
So we have a mixed regime of prices in India. So we do have free market of food prices, but with that we also have MSP. We also have periodic export bans and price control measures. Earlier, we also had the Essential Commodities Act. So that disturbs the free market. So that's why it's seen that when price increases due to political pressure, there's been export bans, for example, on onions, which distorts market.
So why do we why what is the reason behind interference by the government?
The main purpose of government is to maintain to balance efficiency of markets with the social justice and social welfare concerns. Also, the government wants to take care of interest of all stakeholders, from farmers to consumers. So that's why government follows a mixed regime.
Right. So the common term that is used is to defend any government intervention is that it is political economy. What is political
Yes.
economy?
So the political economy, the idea of economy is the intersection of economics with politics, or the economic view of politics. So, for example, any economic decision is not just driven by economic considerations, but also political considerations. For example, the recent farm laws was actually economically viable, but they were not politically viable. So they failed due to the political economy.
So you are from Kanpur. Kanpur is famous for a couple of things. Can you tell me what it is famous for?
I'm from Ajmer, but I did my undergraduation from Kanpur. Kanpur is famous for multiple things. So first, it's historically famous. It was the garrison town of East India Company. It's famous for the birthplace of the revolt of 1857. Then it's famous for its historic manufacturing, textile, and tannery industry. Then it's famous for its education institutions. Apart from IIT Kanpur, there's the Agricultural Research Institute, there's a medical college, and so those would be some of the things.
Looking from Delhi, sitting from Delhi, we often find the criticism that Kanpur has a certain contribution to the pollution in the Ganges River. Can you
Yes,
tell
sir.
me more about?
Yes, sir. So the patch of Ganga that goes through Kanpur is said to be highly polluted because there's industrial waste, there's household waste that goes into Ganga, and the amount of waste and pollution increases from the Kanpur area because it is one of the most industrialized areas. So that has led to so that has led to so the so Kanpur and the
What
downstream
chemicals in
cities.
particular used in leather industry?
So sorry, could you repeat your question, sir?
Yes, so leather industry is also responsible for the pollution. What chemicals in particular are used in the leather industry?
So I'm not aware of the particular chemicals, but uh, those are synthetic chemicals, and sometimes heavy metals are also used, which lead to pollution.
Okay, what is bioaccumulation?
So bioaccumulation is a concept that with time, synthetic chemicals like pesticides or fertilizers tend to accumulate in biological beings. And there's also associated concept of biomagnification that with every food tier, this accumulation gets magnified by about 10 times. So this leads to serious health consequences in upper food areas of food chain like human beings.
You're coming from a field of computer science. There is often a fear that is told about the coming of artificial intelligence and robots. What are the
Yes,
chances
sir.
that may rule humanity according to you?
So the role of humanity in AI.
No, we always are told that artificial intelligence and robots, these progresses in these fields will lead to slavery of mankind. What are the chances? My question is, what are the chances that robots may rule over mankind?
So in some dramatic scenarios, it is envisioned that AI would rule over humanity due to AI would be much faster than any processing capabilities of any human. But I think the true AI risks are much less dramatic from automated weapons or self-driving cars, and the Terminator or Skynet scenario is much less probable. And rather, first we should, and definitely when we're working on ethical AI, we should focus on more probable scenarios like automated weapons or self-driving cars or data privacy issues with
What are the three
AI
laws of
models.
robotics? Bhavishya, what are the three laws of robotics?
So Isaac Asimov came up with the three laws of robotics. So I cannot remember them exactly, but they are to do with how ethical robots should behave. That they should follow the human being, they should contribute to general human welfare, and they should obey the commands of humans. But I cannot recall exactly the direct phrasing.
So you have been an amateur watcher of US and China. Tell me what is the problem that US has with India? Now US always wants India to fit into its world vision, and somehow India does not fit into the world vision or world order that US wants. Right? why am I saying this? How does India not fit into the world vision of US?
So, though there's strategic and value alignment between India and USA, there are some divergences. For example, there's a strong lobby and interest group within progressive interest group within USA that focuses more on that is highly liberal and that forces the Western liberal standards on USA. So, for example, the recent the human rights report on USA or the the treatment of religious minority report on USA or in India by USA that creates divergences. Further, USA wants India to join its camp, so like other NATO countries do. So it wants India to toe the line vis-a-vis Russia, vis-a-vis China, while India wants its own strategic autonomy. So those are the major divergences.
I will not go, Bhavish, I will not go so far to say that US wants India to join NATO. But if you were to meet the American president and ask him what are his grievances with India, tell me 3 or 4 grievances that he will have with India. And what are his
So,
concerns with India?
yes, sir. So first would be the domestic the first concern would be the India's domestic policy. So, for example, the human rights or religious minority.
That is something that is conveniently or selectively looked on by the West. All right, so that is not an issue that generally concerns the West. They work with dictators as well, so that's not a problem. That's not the grievance of the American president. The American president is having a grievance that India is not turning out to be a reliable partner. Why does the American president have this grievance?
India abstained from the UN votes, and India continues to maintain its strategic ties with Russia, which goes against what USA wants. So that's why there's been increasing voices from Washington that India is not a reliable partner.
With respect to China, what is India? So US can always think of a reliable partner in India and prop it against China. But what is it? What is the reason that it is unable to do so?
So India maintains its strategic autonomy. We want to choose our own foreign policy. So even so, with respect to China, we need to try to handle the bilateral relationship on its own terms. So we have to compete with China, but we also are willing to cooperate with China in terms of trade, in terms of global issues, which goes against.
Okay, you are almost there, but in one line, I would just like to tell you that while India will take all the concessions from US when it comes to fighting China, it will say yes to any concession that it can get, but it wants to towing the American line, it will go for its strategic autonomy. है ना? सबसे बड़ी दिक्कत ये है India will say yes, whatever you give me, just like most other nations, but more so with India. And the minute US says that now fine, I've given you everything, I've made a lot of concessions for you, why don't you do as I tell you? India will say we are a democracy and therefore we have internal discussions, we have a national interest to pursue such decisions. There is no national consensus on such decisions and therefore we cannot toe the American line. So America always has this problem that if we try to prop up India as a viable alternative to China, India will benefit from it, but in the end, US will have no benefits from it.
Yes.
US will not be able to extract its pound of flesh from India at a later date, which it can in the case of Pakistan. Why can America withdraw its pound of flesh from Pakistan when it needs to? One line answer is there. Think and tell me, Bhavishya.
So, because Pakistan is a unidimensional power, it is highly dependent in terms of debt and military on earlier on USA. So, it's easier to pressurize Pakistan.
Because India is a democracy, therefore it's difficult to get it to a certain line. The governments change.
Yes.
The governments change here. If they toe the American line, it is quite likely. But in Pakistan, you do not have a democratic. Yes, you do not have a democracy in Pakistan. So you have to deal with the army, primarily with the army. And so they will get you. See, liberal democracies of the West love to work with dictators. The dictators will do They will not come back with excuses that I have a parliament to worry about or I have a people to worry about, right?
Yes.
They always execute. Once a dictator has made a promise, that's not the same with a prime minister. A prime minister, by the time he goes back to his country, he may have immediately become unpopular. Not so much in the country, but at least in the parliament. So difficult to get concessions from a prime minister. We do liberal democracies love dictators for that reason.
Yes, sir.
And for that part. All right. So you've been forecasting or predicting markets. Can you name at least one or more scholars who predicted the 2008 global crisis or the American crisis?
So, just so by the way, I do not predict markets. Prediction markets is the mechanism through which I assign probability to the global events. And so, for the case in 2008 crisis, Raghuram Rajan famously was able to predict. Further, Nicholas Nassim Taleb was another famous scholar who predicted the 2008 crisis.
Okay, a lady of Indian origin has recently been appointed to the IMF. Who am I talking about?
So, I'm aware that Geeta Gopinath has been part of IMF, but in recent times.
Okay, so what is the contribution made by her?
She's the chief economist of IMF. She's a macroeconomist from Harvard. So her contributions would include the global economic world economic outlook that IMF publishes and study of global macroeconomy.
Okay, Bhavishya, so one last question. We are living in a post-liberal world. Is this the end of liberalism, or we believed at some point of time, at least after the 1990s, that liberal democracy, particularly of the Western kind, was the end of history, and this is a final political system. Looking at it, liberal democracies have not been able to successfully contain aggressive second world nations. So, is it the end of liberal democracy or liberalism, as we have seen it continuously fail in the past few years?
Definitely, it's the end of the liberal hegemony. So now there are post-liberal ideologies that are challenging the hegemony of liberalism that was uh, maintained for the last 30 years after the end of history movement. So there's socialism with Chinese characteristics. There's populism and nationalism even within West. We saw that in Trump and Brexit. And then there's the Russian Eurasianism. So the hegemony is ended, but the liberalism still is one of the dominant ideological forces.
All right, Bhavish. So after the GFC of 2008, which event in United States do you think has dented its image the most as a world leader? Tell me a few things that has dented the image of United States of America as a world leader and taken away the what you call the natural leadership that America once enjoyed. What events?
So first, immediately after the global financial crisis, first would be the uncertain stand in the Libyan as well as Syrian crisis during after the Arab Spring. Then the Trump presidency, which with its America First and disrupt the global rule-based order. Then unprincipled stands during the Trump years, and and finally the hurried withdrawal from Afghanistan during President Biden.
Fair enough. During Trump's presidency, what events, particularly in particular, if you can cite, one is obviously America First. Under this America First itself, what few events can you cite that never happened in America but happened during the Trump presidency that came as a big blow to the idea of liberal democracy as a ultimate or a final system?
Yes, sir. So the first would be so the withdrawal from global multilateral organizations, for example, UNESCO or the Paris Agreement, and the withdrawal from bilateral treaties like INF or Open Skies Treaty. Then the January 6th incident in USA, and the trade war with China. Those would be things.
One thing you are forgetting. What happened after Trump lost elections?
Yes, sir. So President Trump did not accept the election as valid, which eroded trust in the democratic institutions and the free and fair electoral system of USA.
So he was. No, there is one more thing that happened. Think about it, Bhavishya. You can see the visuals of it everywhere.
So the 6th January Capitol Hill attack, or
Yes, which would normally happen in a third world country in Africa, but would not happen in a first world nation. So that happened. That also has dented America's image. All right, Bhavishya. So you're a computer science engineer with good career prospects. What is the reason that you are planning to join civil services?
the first reason would be that during my final year, I developed a strong interest in political philosophy and international relations. I also did elective courses in the field. Um, that's why I chose civil services. Then the second reason would be that I realized that in the private corporate sector job, I could not derive the same sense of meaning and purpose that comes with civil services. So those would be the two reasons. That's why I decided to join civil services.
All right, Bhavish, your interview is over.